Nebraska took the highest score of the weekend. The road to the Olympics via the World Cup series began, and Winter Cup is this weekend, plus how to make the winter national team. Today will be a condensed NCAA recap as there is so much elite news to get to. For those new here, my name is Kensley, the host of Neutral Deductions, a podcast all about men's gymnastics.
This is the Neutral Deductions podcast, men's gymnastic news, coverage, and analysis. Hosted by Kensley Beal.
We're starting with NCAA news. Nebraska finally put it all together this past weekend, breaking 412, which was the highest score of the week. The highlight was Zac Tiderman, who broke the school record on high bar. Nebraska also took 5 out of the 6 event titles. The only title they didn't take was vault. Logan Watterson earned the vault title from Greenville with a 15.0. Greenville continues to break their own record, scoring a 395.70, and Army placed third despite recording a season best score. OU rested their top stars as they traveled to Simpson for the very first time with a 40-point win over Simpson with an exceptional vault rotation. 6 different athletes from OU won 6 different events, with the top score coming on vault from Leo Koke. Sterling Pariza from Simpson won the all-around title in the dual meet. Michigan won the tri-meet over Springfield and ASU at home. Michigan's Crew Bold broke his previous record score on floor and tied ASU's Jackson Harrison. Springfield split the two teams, and Sam Kaplan took another all-around title home. Cal and William & Mary competed in a virtual meet where Cal won the title and all 6 events. All NCAA teams will have a break from competition this week, as individuals will have the chance to compete at Winter Cup in Louisville, Kentucky.
Neutral Deductions is your exclusive gymnastics news platform focused entirely on men's gymnastics. To show your support, please subscribe to Neutral Deductions' YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram.
Moving on to Winter Cup, I will be headed to Louisville, Kentucky on Wednesday this week. There are 8 people who are going to be pre-qualified to the senior national winter team, and those are the 2 members who are on the senior development team. That's Landon Blix from Michigan and Josh Carnes from Penn State. The 6-member team, including the alternate from the 2023 World Championships, are also pre-qualified to the senior national team. So that is Coy Young, Colt Walker, Asher Hong, Fred Richard, Yul Moldauer, and Paul Judah. Now, Coy, Colt, Asher, and Fred will not be competing at this meet. Coy, Colt, and Asher were selected to compete at the Cottbus World Cup in Germany this coming weekend, and Fred has withdrawn, and in an interview with Gymnastics Now, he said that he's dealing with a few injuries, nothing major, but just wants to be sure to be able to rest his body for the long season ahead leading up to the Olympic Games. Winter Cup is also going to see the competitive return on the national stage of Brody Malone. The 2022 world champion is expected to compete 3 events: pommel horse, still rings, and parallel bars. It's still unclear if he will be able to do full dismounts, and he is expected to incorporate high bar in after Winter Cup. Moving on to how athletes can actually make the senior winter national team. So aside from the 8 people who are pre-qualified, they have actually made some changes from previous years. So they have changed the all-around requirement. Previously, you could make the winter senior national team by placing top 5 in the all-around just from day 1, but they have since changed that. So a little bit of background here. Brett McClure had said in an interview with me in previous years that they wanted to give athletes the chance to try upgrades without being punished or penalized and unable to make national team from falling. And so they wanted to give their top all-around athletes, think in previous years, Yul Moldauer, Alan Bauer, some of these others who have placed in the top year, to make national team and then use day 2 to try upgrades because they've already made national team and it wouldn't hurt their shot. But what has ended up happening is that these athletes make national team and then often end up sitting out day 2 of competition. So now they have gone back to the original format from many years prior, where it's just going to be top 5 in the all-around from both days of competition. So after that, the next 5 people to make the national team are the top 5 from the 10-point program. So the way the 10-point program works is you get certain numbers of points from being a certain rank on each event, and the more events you compete, the better chance you have at making it on national team through the 10-point program. And then after that, they have made an allocation for event specialists. So up to 2 event specialists can make the team. providing that they have a D score that was competitive within the 2023 World Championships. So this is going to be people like Steven Edorosik, Alex Diab, Brody Malone, Ignacio Yockers, Brandon Dang, Curran Phillips, people like that. These are the people who are going to have the D score to potentially fit into that mold. Now, the catch is that you also have to be the event winner. So you can't have Steven Edorosik and Ignacio Yockers and Brandon Dang and Patrick Hoops all take those spots from pommel horse. It can only be the event winner, plus assuming that they compete their actual D score on one of the 2 days. Any remaining spots left over will be assigned by the senior selection committee. Now, it seems that there's going to be approximately 20 spots on senior national team, although I didn't see anything that specifically states that. Just counting up the spots that they seem to have available, it does seem that that will be about the number that will happen. Now, there is one other way to have a replacement on senior national team, and that is that the 2 athletes who are on the senior development team, Landon Blixt and Joshua Carnes, if either of them make the senior national team outright, what will happen is their spot will be reallocated to someone who is aged 18 to 20 who has the highest D score within that range. And so then that athlete will be able to come onto senior national team that way. We will be covering the meet live on Instagram, on X, formerly known as Twitter, on our website, neutraldeductions.com, and on YouTube. So please make sure you are following us on all of those platforms to stay up to date with everything happening on Winter Cup. I believe that USA Gymnastics is streaming the event live through YouTube. Another note for Winter Cup is Winter Cup is going to be taking place on Friday afternoon and Sunday evening. On Saturday evening is the Elite Team Cup, and the Elite Team Cup is a competition for elite junior gymnasts from each of the different regions around the US. So there are 2 regions that typically send the strongest teams, and that's Region 1 and Region 3. Region 1 has won the past 2 competitions, and before that, Region 3 had won a slew of them. I can't remember exactly how many in a row. They are both, again, fielding very strong teams, so that is something to look forward to if you're looking for gymnastics to watch on Saturday afternoon.
Neutral Deductions recently launched this year and is entirely funded by listener contributions. If you'd like to support the show and help promote men's gymnastics, kindly consider making a donation through the PayPal link provided in the show notes. All donations are greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Moving on to the Cairo World Cup. So the World Cup series has officially started for the final push towards the Olympic Games. So there are only 2 final ways to qualify for the Olympics via competition, and that's the World Cup series and then the Continental Event Championships. The Pan American Games have already served as the Olympic qualifier for that region. However, we're still missing Oceania, African, Asian, and European championships. And the top all-arounder from those championships will be able to qualify a spot for the Olympic Games. But there is another way for specifically event specialists to earn their way to compete in Paris, and that's through the World Cup Series. So the World Cup Series is hosted by the FIG, and there are 4 qualifying competitions. The Cairo World Cup, which took place this past weekend, the Cottbus World Cup, which is taking place this weekend, the same time as Winter Cup, Baku, and Doha. And so the way that this works is there are 12 spots available for men's gymnastics, and one country can earn a spot per event for a total of 2 spots per event. So there are 2 spots on floor, 2 on pommel horse, 2 on still rings, 2 on vault, 2 on parallel bars, and 2 on high bar. So you can't have 2 people from France earning a spot on floor, but you could have someone from France on floor and someone from South Korea on floor. And then you could have someone from France on pommel horse and someone from Jordan on pommel horse, and so on and so forth. So the way that someone earns spots is the first place at the event in finals gets 30 points, second place gets 25, and so on and so forth. And then at the end of the 4 World Cups, all the point totals are added up, and whoever has the highest point total, the 2 highest point totals, will get a qualifying spot for the Olympic Games. Now, there are some exceptions for reasons that points get reallocated. So this past weekend, Artur Davtyan from Armenia won vault. He previously earned an individual all-around spot from the 2023 World Championships. So his spots get reallocated for the purpose of qualifying for the Olympics because he's already earned a spot. However, he does get to keep the 30 points in terms of who wins the World Cup Series because there is prize money involved in that. So in Cairo, the event winners were Roo Sung-yoon of Korea, who got a 14.066 on floor. Ahmed Abu Al-Sood got a 15.066 on pommel horse. Jong Ryong got a 14.6 on still rings. Archer Davtian got a 14.930 on vault. Ilya Kovtun put in a stunning 15.6 on parallel bars to edge out Oleg Vernayev. And Tong Chi-hung got a 14.5 on high bar. A few interesting moments from the weekend. So going into the pommel horse final, we all thought that pommel horse was going to be one of the most competitive and difficult ways to earn a spot for Paris. And there were three main contenders that people were really looking at. That was Nariman Kurbanov of Kazakhstan, Li Chikai of Taiwan, and Ahmed Abu Al-Sood of Jordan. Well, Li Chikai ended up not even making the final. And shockingly, going into the final, Korea's Hee Woong was a huge surprise to sit in the top spot. He ended up getting second in the final, but I had actually never heard of this gymnast, and I had gone back. He's only competed internationally according to the FIG database twice, and he's never made a major national team. So it's very, very interesting to see that an athlete who has never been on a major national team may be able to qualify a spot for the Olympics simply because South Korea failed to qualify a spot as a team. Vault was a bit dramatic as Nazar Chapurny of Ukraine was originally listed as the winner, and then the judges ended up redoing the scores or something was input wrong. I'm not quite sure what happened, and Archer Davtian ended up being the vault winner. Now, both Chapurny and Davtian are not eligible for qualifying points. So those points are going to be, the top points are going to be reallocated to Shek Wei Hung of Hong Kong. And shockingly, Jacob Carlsen from Norway was a very good surprise to see him in second. Now, for those of you who are really interested in who got what points and who's in what ranking, Lauren at the Gymternet has an incredible database on her website full of all of the point totals. So I highly recommend going and checking out her website to follow along for the World Cup series. Next up in the series is Cottbus, which is happening this coming weekend. The FIG does have a stream for finals and only for finals, which is a little bit disappointing. And you have to pay around $5 or so for each day of finals competition. Before we close out, if you would just take a moment and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast. If you're listening on YouTube, please like and subscribe. It really helps others find Neutral Deductions and learn more about men's gymnastics. If you would like to help us bring more live coverage, please consider donating. We are entirely listener supported at this point, and even $10 helps. The links to donate via Stripe or PayPal are located on the bottom of every article and in the show notes as well. If you have any questions, comments, or insider tips, you can email Kensley at neutraldeductions@gmail.com. That's all for this week. We'll see you next time.